The winding road to Lena's hometown was just as she remembered it, lined with trees that had grown taller and houses that had changed hands over the years. As the city skyline receded behind her, she felt a growing sense of excitement. For nearly 2 decades, she had been living in the city, working tirelessly to save enough money for her dream, retiring in the peaceful countryside where she had grown up. Every paycheck she earned had been sent home to her Aunt May, the one person she had trusted to build her a house on the family's ancestral land. Now, at 42, she was ready to see the fruits of her labor. Lena imagined herself relaxing in the house she had long envisioned, a home that would mark her success and her return to her roots. Lena's excitement bubbled as she approached the familiar village, her car rattling over the uneven dirt roads. The village hadn't changed much over the years, and she smiled as she passed familiar faces that waved at her. The closer she got to the property, the more she envisioned the house she had always dreamed of, a cozy, modest cottage nestled in the trees, where she could live out her days in peace. But as she turned the final corner and the land came into view, Lena's breath caught in her throat. What stood before her was not the quaint little house she had been promised. It was a mansion, an extravagant, sprawling structure with tall iron gates, manicured lawns, and polished stone walls. Her heart raced as she parked the car and stepped out, feeling a wave of confusion wash over her. She stood there for a long moment, staring at the mansion in disbelief. It was the right land, that much she knew. It had been in the family for generations. But this wasn't her home. This wasn't what she had been paying for all these years. "Aunt May?" Lena called out, her voice trembling. She walked up to the gate, looking around for any sign of her aunt. Just then, Aunt May emerged from the front door, her face lighting up as she spotted Lena. She waved enthusiastically and hurried over to meet her at the gate. "Lena, you're finally here," she exclaimed. "Oh, it's been so long." Lena's hands shook as she stared at her aunt, disbelief and anger bubbling beneath the surface. "Aunt May, what is this?" she asked, gesturing to the massive house. "Where's my house?" Aunt May's smile faltered for a moment, but she quickly recovered, her tone airy as if she were explaining away a minor misunderstanding. "Oh, Lena, darling, I know you must be shocked, but this is the house I built. You said you wanted a house on the family land, and here it is." Lena's heart sank as she processed her aunt's words. "No," she said, her voice rising in frustration. "I sent you money for years to build me a house, a modest home. She pointed to the mansion. "This isn't what I wanted. This is your house." Aunt May's expression hardened, her jovial demeanor dropping as she crossed her arms. "Well, Lena, it's not like you were around to handle things yourself, was it? I took care of the land, the construction, everything. You can stay here, of course. There's more than enough room for both of us." Lena's eyes narrowed, the sting of betrayal cutting deeper with every word. "You took my money, May. All of it. And you built this palace for yourself. How could you?" May waved a hand dismissively, her tone growing defensive. "You're being dramatic, Lena. You sent the money, and I used it to take care of the family land. I did what I thought was best." Lena stepped closer to the gate, her voice trembling with anger. "This isn't just about money, Aunt May. It's about trust. I trusted you to build my home, not to fund your lifestyle. You betrayed me." May's face twisted into a sneer. "Oh, don't be so self-righteous, Lena. You left this place behind. You abandoned your roots. I'm the one who stayed, who kept the family's legacy alive. If anyone deserves this land, it's me." The words struck Lena like a physical blow. She had always believed that she was sending the money home for the good of the family, for her future. But now, standing in front of the mansion that wasn't hers, she realized just how deeply she had been deceived. The betrayal wasn't just about the money. It was about her aunt's sense of entitlement, her belief that Lena's success in the city somehow made her less deserving of her own home. Lena felt her chest tighten with anger and hurt. "You had no right, May," she said quietly, tears threatening to spill over. "You had no right to steal from me." May's eyes flashed with irritation. I didn't steal anything, Lena. I used the money to build something beautiful, something the family can be proud of. If you can't see that, maybe you've been living in the city too long. Lena shook her head, her heart heavy with disappointment. She had worked so hard, sacrificed so much, and for what? To be left with nothing but an empty promise and a fractured family. Maybe you're right, May, Lena said, her voice steadying as she took a step back. Maybe I have been away too long, but I'm not going to let you get away with this. May scoffed, but there was a flicker of uncertainty in her eyes. What are you going to do, Lena? Sue me? Drag your own family through the mud? Lena looked her aunt in the eyes, her resolve hardening. If that's what it takes. Over the next few days, Lena began to put the pieces together. She learned from old friends and distant relatives that her aunt had been bragging for years about how much money Lena had been sending home. May had flaunted her newfound wealth, using it to build connections with the town's elite. Meanwhile, Lena's dream of a quiet retirement had been turned into nothing more than a tool for May's social climbing. But Lena wasn't alone in her anger. Her cousin, David, May's estranged nephew, reached out to her after hearing about the situation. He had left town years ago after a falling out with May, and now he was ready to help Lena seek justice. Together, they began gathering evidence, bank statements, construction invoices, and witness testimonies from locals who had seen the mansion go up. David's insight into his aunt's manipulative ways proved invaluable. He had seen May deceive people before, using charm and guilt to get what she wanted. But this time, she had gone too far. Lena was determined to take back what was hers, no matter the cost. As the legal battle loomed on the horizon, Lena couldn't help but feel the weight of what was to come. She wasn't just fighting for a house. She was fighting for her dignity, her future, and her right to reclaim the life she had worked so hard to build. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but for the first time in years, Lena felt a spark of hope. She would take back what was hers, one way or another. The courtroom was tense, the air thick with the weight of the years of lies and betrayal. Lena sat beside David, her eyes locked on the judge as her cousin took the stand. His face was somber, yet resolute, ready to lay bare the truth of what their Aunt May had done to both of them. David began to speak, his voice steady as he recounted the years of hard work that he and his wife had put in to save for their dream home. We worked long hours for years. Every penny we saved was meant for the house we wanted to build on the family land, he explained. May convinced us that it would be cheaper if we built the house at the same time as Lena's. She promised us that the savings would be significant, and we trusted her. He paused, his jaw tightening as the memory of betrayal washed over him. But she never built our house. She took our money, just like she took Lena's, and she used it to build that mansion for herself. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs. The judge silenced the room with a sharp rap of his gavel, and David continued, detailing the broken promises and manipulation. He and his wife had been left with nothing, while May had indulged in luxury. As David finished his testimony, Lena's lawyer presented the evidence Lena had painstakingly collected over the years, bank statements showing the vast sums of money she had sent to May, letters detailing the progress of the supposed construction of her house, and photos of the mansion that had been built instead. The correspondence showed the deliberate deceit, May's sweet, coaxing words that had led Lena to believe her dream home was being built, while all the while, the money was funneled into May's lavish lifestyle. Lena sat stiffly as the prosecutor spoke. It's clear that May Gibbons exploited her family's trust, deceiving both her niece and nephew for her own personal gain. She betrayed the people closest to her, using their hard-earned money to build a life of luxury while they were left with nothing. May sat at the defense table, her once proud demeanor cracked and worn. She avoided the eyes of the villagers seated behind her in the courtroom, people she had once flaunted her wealth to, people she had once been close to. They now looked at her with disgust. Her connections to the elite had crumbled, and whispers of her deceit had spread far beyond the village, tarnishing her reputation and leaving her in isolation. The trial dragged on for days, but it was clear which way the winds were blowing. The evidence was undeniable, the testimonies compelling. May had built her mansion on the backs of her family's labor, using their dreams as collateral for her own selfish desires. The final blow came when the judge delivered his verdict. May was found guilty of embezzlement, fraud, and breach of trust. The mansion she had built, as well as the funds in her accounts, would be seized and distributed between Lena and David. As the courtroom emptied, Lena and David stood together outside, the weight of the past few weeks slowly lifting from their shoulders. "We did it," Lena whispered, relief flooding through her as she looked over at David. David nodded, a faint smile breaking through his serious expression. "We did." The village, once divided by May's lies, had rallied behind Lena and David, and now that justice had been served, the healing could begin. The mansion that had been a symbol of greed and betrayal would now belong to both of them, but neither of them wanted to live in it. The memories of what had been done in its name were too painful. "We should sell it," Lena suggested. "Divide the proceeds and start fresh. Maybe build something smaller on the family land, something that honors what our parents left behind." David nodded in agreement. "I think that's the right thing to do." Together, they decided to work towards something better, not just for themselves, but for the legacy of their family. They would take care of the land that had been passed down for generations, nurture it, and decide together how best to move forward. It wouldn't be easy, and the wounds would take time to heal, but they had each other. And after years of being deceived by someone they had trusted, that was enough. As word of their victory spread through the village, May's fall from grace became a cautionary tale, one of greed, betrayal, and the high cost of deception. But for Lena and David, it was also a story of resilience, of finding strength in the most unexpected places, and of rebuilding a family torn apart by lies. Together, they would forge a new future, grounded in trust and shared purpose, leaving behind the bitter legacy of May's selfishness. If you want to see more gripping stories filled with twists, betrayal, and redemption, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss a new story.